all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. Show the way. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place.
And so I just give thanks that we allow ourselves to move into that place of deepest peace. Deepest, deepest, deepest peace. It resides within us. It is us. It allows us to rise above the storms, both personally and politically, socially, economically. It is the peace that lifts us up so that we can act out of, speak out of, live out of a sense of grace that not only establishes us with a sense of serenity, but gives to everyone we are around. That grace gives itself as love and intelligence and understanding and cooperation and all of those things that we long for. We give those out, we get them back. Oh, and it is from that desire to know peace at a deep and powerful level that all that can be established. So ask yourself, are you willing to know that peace? Are you willing to know that kind of peace? So that no matter what's going on around you, you are stable. If so, simply within your heart of hearts, say, yes, I'm ready. I'm willing to know the peace, the love, the grace, the truth, the wonder, the awe of God. And be its manifestation on earth. If that is true for you, let those words be your words. And then together let us say, and so it is. Change gears, and what works now is technology. And not only do we get to have some of the best musicians because we can either bring them here or we can connect with them virtually, but this song with Aaron English is so wonderful because he's connecting with musicians all over the world. You are going to love it, Aaron English.
Strange moon rising, the sun sets in the east and the stars fall from the sky. But I'm not afraid to face this darkness. I could lose all I have, but I still got my pride. Yeah, just like that. Come on, head up, just like that. Yeah, just like that. Gotta carry that weight like that. Hey, can't take my pride. Steady on, hold on, can't take my pride.
African lioness, no cat. Brown, black, white, stop that. One people, one race, straight fact. Time to break the mental chain and connect. Change the way that we think and protect the children and the women, that's the future if you check. Mama Africa needs you, needs me. Keep fighting, don't stop, grow love.
let's go. You can't really move me, pride intact. Got so lack, I'm coming full force. You better move back. I'm on my own, but I'm not alone. We all in it together, you blood and bones. Time to rally up, people no more divide. Nowhere to hide, keep the hate outside. Go with love, cause that's the vibe. That's our legacy, that's our pride. Keep your head up, keep on moving. All you fighters, all you lovers, hold on tightly, hold on tight.
Wow. First of all, I hope you were dancing around. If you were on your couch, I hope you got up and danced around. I was dancing around up here. And then at the very end, it just was so touching. It was so touching. Keep on moving, all you lovers, all you fighters. I realize that sometimes I don't fight enough for what I truly believe in. I sometimes am swayed by what I'm supposed to say. I had no idea I was going to say this. That's what you get if you're here with me first service is, stream of consciousness. But I am disturbed by isms, or whether it's racism or sexism or all the isms. What usually is just ism is just a covering, a kind of a shiny coating covering that we can look at, and at the center of it is hate. And out of the center of hate is separation, a sense that I'm separate from you, therefore I can judge you. And to keep you away from me and separate from me, I will hate you. Children are not born to hate, they're taught to hate. So hate is a virus that lives inside the human condition. And love is the condition that we wake up to when we're on our spiritual journey. In fact, Jesus said, if you know not love, then you don't know God. No matter what religion you're in. And so what I realized is that I put something on my Facebook page, that was, I'm against hate. I can't be against hate. Ernest Holmes said that we should be a people who are for something and against nothing. See, to be against something puts energy in that something. Like if you are against a disease, you are empowering that disease as real. If I'm against the way someone acts, then I'm going to be always looking for how they're acting that way so I can catch them at it. Where love is the healing power that we can move into. So I'm going to say from now on, I am for us loving ourselves into a new world. And I love it. Aaron English, it's like, I don't know if he meant that, but it's like, am I willing to stand up and fight for love? Not to fight, but to take a stand for love in a great way. Which kind of leads me into today's talk. I didn't know I was going to. There was another part of my brain that was saying, okay, Kathianne, now that you're on a rant, how are you going to segue into your talk? Well, okay, let's segue into the talk. Which is, I'm so excited. I'm not excited. I have trepidation, but I'm also excited. The theme for this week and next week and Good Friday is in the footsteps of the Master. And I say the Master because what we teach in this particular philosophy is that the man Jesus, who discovered the Christ within himself, he discovered God within himself, and he acted and lived out of that God within himself, was not an exception, but an example of how we could live and how we could evolve and what we're evolving into. And I'd say the first, 10 years maybe of my ministry, maybe 15, I pretty much avoided the subject. We would have big Easter celebrations at Benaroya Hall, and people would say, shouldn't we have talked about Jesus? It's like, I don't talk about Jesus. Why? Because there's just so much opinion about Jesus. Jesus was a man and covered with all these opinions, and since I had studied the history of the Christian church and its evolution, I knew where a lot of those opinions came from, and they have become so solidified, they're like a fossil. And it's so darn hard to break it apart to get to what caused the fossil that I didn't even want to go there. I just don't want to go there because people had their opinions, and I was going to disturb someone. So I was like, okay, I'll play it safe and we'll talk about bunnies or spring or... By the way, let's just talk Easter for a second. Easter was named after a fertility goddess, Estra. Think about it. Bunnies, chicks. Anyway, eggs. So I avoided Jesus. It's not that I avoided Jesus personally. It's that I avoided talking about it because I didn't want to disrupt what anyone had established in their mind about what that person meant, or that personality meant, or that story meant. And so I avoided. How many of you avoid things? How many of you go to family dinners, potlucks, funerals, and weddings, and you avoid talking about cousin somebody? You just, don't want to disturb anybody. So, luckily, I have been healed, brothers and sisters. And what has set me free is the realization that comes from the works of Joel Goldsmith, who was a Christian mystic, and Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was a Christian mystic, and both of them were also New Thought Christian mystics. Their impression and ideas about Jesus freed me to see that if I avoid the story of Jesus, then I am avoiding a evolutionary opportunity to evolve into the Christ. But see, we are the Christ, but just like the caterpillar is the butterfly, it still has to evolve into it. We still have to evolve into the wings and the ability to fly, not literally, please, but metaphorically fly. So what I want to do in 5 sessions is give you an abbreviated version of a class that I now teach, which is What Would Jesus Do? It's very abbreviated, but it's going to be, I hope, hopefully good. And I'll share with you a little bit about how I will do that. This comes from a book by Joel Goldsmith, Consciousness Unfolding. And in it he says, there is enough spiritual reading in your Bible so that no words of mine are necessary. The Gospel of John is enough. No other book is really necessary. If you could catch the spiritual vision of that book, the Gospel of John, you would need no metaphysical books. It is the most spiritually written book known to man. There's enough truth in it for all the healing ministries that will ever be called forth for human need. Whoa, well, that got my attention, although I've already been reading it because I've been studying for a very long time, and you can tell by how chewed up this book is, Bible Interpretations by Emma Curtis Hopkins, and she begins with the Gospel of John. And in that, she says, thus the walk of Jesus Christ through this realm of carnal or earthly experiences is at each step of his going a living teaching of what to do under similar circumstances. Let the same mind be in us that was in Christ Jesus. So what she's saying is that while other gospels taught parables, where they had they had Jesus talking parables, the whole Gospel of John is a parable. And the subject is Jesus. Just briefly, and I want to say that we will be putting these 5 talks into a series that you can get. So I'm going to give a little bit more background on this first talk, but we'll put these together 5 in a row, so you can get the whole shebang later. And now I forgot what I was going to say. What was I saying? John? Oh, background. I don't know. Anyway, don't ever leave the subject, Kathianne, because you might forget where you were. Anyway, what? Oh, I know. Because this particular book is different than the other Gnostic Gospels. It is my belief, since it was written so long after Jesus died, people were not around actually when he was there. The scholars say that John was written at least 100 years after Jesus died. So those memories are put together as a story to teach the principle of unfoldment, and it wasn't meant to be literal. But parables aren't meant to be literal. So we look at these things as, okay, this is an instruction about how I can remember my true self and live from that true self. And what that true self is, I believe, is an expression of the divine, and therefore all that is true of the divine is true of us. Now, that's what we teach all the time. And yet, how many of you, including myself, find ourselves not able to live that way at times? This particular story, the story of John, the story told by John about Jesus, helps us live that way. And so I'm going to just give examples, not so much about the philosophy of Christianity and how it evolved, but what do you do under certain circumstances? What do you do under certain circumstances? Now, let me give you an example. We'll start with 2 things that people love. Jal teaches piano, right, Jal? And in piano, I bet they have to start out with certain chords, and they have to get their fingers doing certain things. Am I right? Yeah. Until it's like an intelligence takes over in the hands, and the mind thinks a melody, and the hands do it. Is that true? I mean, I've from conscious learning to unconscious learning, because I've watched Jal. I'll say, let's play this song, and Jal remembers the song, and he's thinking of the song, and his hands are doing what his hands do. Very beautifully, I might add. I was not here last week because I went to a horse show. I wanted to watch it because I want to do the kind of riding that was happening in that horse show, and I wanted to see how a lot of people rode, because I'm a visual learner, and it helped me to see one after the other people tackling something that I want to eventually tackle, and it's called cow cutting with a horse. And because they are novices, they can work with the cows, and they usually have someone else kind of coaching them. So I hear these coaching all the time. Forward, forward, forward. No, now stop. No. put more leg on it. Don't let it get past. And they're giving all these instructions. And the horse is learning while the person is learning. Eventually, what will happen is that these people will graduate from amateur to, novice to who knows what until the real cutting happens when the rider tells the horse which cow it wants, or he wants or she wants. The rider tells the horse which cow we're going to get. And then the rider no longer can touch the reins. All they can do is hang on. And the horse does what Jal does with his hands. The horse goes in and goes, lock. Takes the cow out of the herd gently so it doesn't scatter the herd. And once it gets the cow out, the cow wants to go back to the herd because the cow thinks that's safety, and the horse has to keep the cow away from the herd. And it is a dance that every time I watch it, it's exciting. Why am I telling you this? It's because many of us pray and many of us meditate and many of us do our forgiveness work. But sometimes it's hard to understand how we are to walk through life. We have our spiritual practice, but how do we do life? I believe that the Gospel of John, when I read it the way that I'm reading it now, is here's how you do life while you are training your consciousness to be the Christ. So that consciously, we may be saying, I'm one with God, but what we need to do is have it become so automatic and so unconscious that we find ourselves being a place of grace without working at it. Just like Joel's hands know how to play, we know how to be grace, truth, and love, and peace in form, which is what the Christ is. Ernest Holmes would define the Christ as God in us, but we've been trained to be us as us, not the Christ as us. By the way, when I say the word Christ, I don't mean Christian. I mean it as a word that has been used and can be used as the acknowledgement of the divine living as us. And what's interesting is I'm talking about, the way you play the piano or the way you ride a horse. What we would call the early Christians didn't call themselves Christians. They called themselves followers of the way. They wanted to do it the way Jesus did it. So here we will go. John starts out with, in the beginning was the Word. And many of you know that the Word was also a Greek word. What we've translated as the Word was a Greek word called logos. And I did some research into this word logos. It can mean a lot of things. When you translate a word into another word, one language into another language, oftentimes there's a whole lot of definitions that are excluded. They pick a definition and they go with it. And so they went with the word word. They went with the word word. But logos could also mean plan. Think about it. Do you see how it changes things when you say, in the beginning was a plan? In the beginning, there's a plan. And since we don't believe that Jesus was the only one, he's just the one that sort of woke up to a plan, that means that we can wake up to a plan, and we are planned. That's kind of like, I'm planned, and we're not accidents. That when people have had unitive consciousness, when they have had that experience, that glimpse of how the universe functions, and sometimes it doesn't last long, but they see that everything is in such harmony and is such a universe, a one song going on. And it's so beautiful and so intricate and so perfect. And guess what? We're a part of it. We're not on the outside looking in. We're not hoping to have something happen. It's happening. I mean, so many mystics say it's happening. Wake up. It's happening. Buddha, when asked if he was a saint or an angel or a god, he said, no, I'm just awake to what's happening. Rabbi Shapiro said that he describes God as what's happening. Jesus said, I'm awake and I came to earth and most people are asleep. In fact, they're having nightmares. To wake up to what's happening, to the plan, to the unfoldment, then we could relax. If we don't relax, then we're busy creating what we want to escape from. I'm going to give you, because I've got 5 sessions, and I'm going to tell you a story that I tell once in a while. But it's when I had a near-life experience, because I wasn't about to die, but I was agitated. I think sometimes agitation can create this neural thing that happens where you can have unitive consciousness. Supposedly, unitive consciousness can come from rhythmic motion, like this, or whirling, or whatever, rhythmic motion, chanting, high altitude, drugs, one laugh, and accidents. That's why people have near-death experiences, is because sometimes you're just so shocked that you see things in a different way. Your brain goes, okay, let's take this in. Well, I didn't have a near-death experience, but I was really agitated, and it's kind of embarrassing to tell you what I was agitated about, but I can also say that it was almost 30 years ago, so I hopefully have grown a little bit. But I was watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and I got really agitated. I said, since I believe that I could set up my life in this incarnation any way I wanted, I chose this incarnation. It just ticks me off that I didn't set it up to be rich and famous. I mean, why did I have to be born into poverty? And why couldn't I have just been born in a mansion? And they were just mad. And then it was a Saturday, so I had to go and meditate and get ready to do my talk. I'm still mad. And I had this experience of that unitive consciousness where everything just opened up. I mean, really, it was like this. And I saw that I picked my parents, and that they were the right parents to pick, and that I picked my situation, and it was the right thing for me to pick, so that I would learn the lessons that I needed to learn, so that I could do what I incarnated to do, and that everything was on target and on plan, and everything was fine. And I saw the end, and how everything flowed into everything else. It was wonderful, and then it would whoop. And all I remember is that I saw it. And I'll never forget it. It was more real, or at least I would say as real as being in this room right now. There's a plan. And sometimes when I'm agitated and like it's not going right and I don't know enough and have I wasted my life, and it's like, nope, there's been a plan, just shut up and enjoy it. Shut up and enjoy it, because you're going to get through it anyway, might as well enjoy it. There's a plan. In the beginning was a plan. In the beginning was a plan, and God is always in the beginning. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I'm the beginning and the end, and everything in between is the unfoldment of consciousness and the revelation of God in its creation. Yippee-ki-yay! Let's enjoy it. So, next thing in John. He attracted a posse. What did he do? Oh, no, we're not talking about anything else. It's just, what did he do? He attracted a posse. Now, I'm not sure if he attracted a posse because at that point he thought he was going to have people to teach with or whatever, but he had people around him. And he did not have the usual suspects. He didn't have just family members. He didn't have just people like him. He didn't have just people from his community or his childhood. He didn't have just the approved people. He had a tax collector, for God's sakes. A tax collector at that time was reviled because he was the one that could go into someone's home and take their belongings. He had permission to take things from people. So everyone would hide things from the tax collector in the village. So he had one of those. He had women. Now, they don't show up now because they've been kind of edited out. But there is a verse that said that he was supported by the women in his entourage. So he probably also attracted wealthy women. We know that there was Mary and a bunch of women that showed up when he was on the cross. He had women. He had those that were not approved of. He had fishermen. He had people who were not religious. He was going for a spiritual resonance, not a look. Now, what this says to me is we are not meant to evolve by ourselves. It will be very difficult to evolve by yourself. And this is hard for me to say because I am such an introvert. I'd much rather be at home reading a spiritual book than I would to be out in public most of the time. My friend Kathy can attest to that. And yet, my growth has always been in groups. My real growth has been when I'm interacting with others and listening to them and seeing them and watching them and sharing with them and being inspired by them. Whoa! We're all going to evolve. We'll all find our wings. We all will be the metaphorical butterfly we were meant to be. But a way to find a catalyst for that, and a catalyst just means it speeds up what's going to happen anyway, is to do it in spiritual community. I know that's been difficult because we've been in a pandemic. But once we start meeting again, I encourage you to meet again. And if you don't want to meet, if you still feel insecure about that, then find a way to create a Zoom or an online community and evolve together. It's incredibly important. I'm going to leave it there. I've got more to say. That'll be happening second service. So let's pray. Father, Mother, God within. And for those of you that want to join me in this prayer, I'll say it slowly, and I invite you, if you choose, to just repeat after me. So I'll begin again. Father, Mother, God within. Open me up that I might see the plan encoded within me. Let me rest in the knowing that I am a cherished expression of creation. And that within me is everything I need to thrive and to flourish and to bear fruit that blesses my family, my friends, and the world in general. Let me be a place of peace. Let me be a place of love. Give me the strength to stand for those things. Father, Mother, God within. Let me attract and let me be attracted to my spiritual posse. Those who will inspire me and empower me to be all that I can be. And may I bless them in return. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for this life that I am living. May I rest in contentment this day and live with courage every day. And so it is.